changed the course of their journey at the end of life, because they're gone, and then their families
is not focused on you at all.
No, at all.
Not that it should, and you don't want it to be, obviously,
not at all. But their families are gone too. So that was my connection to the family, was the person who's on that journey, and so I have to have complete unattachment to my words, and if they've made an impact or not, I just have to let it go. So
for anyone who's listening, my mom is a hospice doctor. So basically her job, ever since I was a baby, is to like help people die. Just think of that. Your job is to help people die. How is that even a job, first of all? And like the things that you would have to do are just so foreign to like everyone's normal life experience. Like nobody ever, I mean, like I've never even in my whole life seen anyone die, like in front of my face. And I've never had to like talk to someone about their life so that they're at peace when they die. I have no idea what that's like. I talk to people all the time about finding peace in their life while they're like fully healthy, normal, like, and that's one whole thing. And then there's like, this is a whole separate thing, because finding peace in the present moment is way different whenever you know that your future is definitely timed. Like we can all pretend like, oh, we live every day like it's our last, but we really don't, because we know like we have faith every day that we're going to live, at least 20 more years or something like that. And it's like, whenever death is really like at the door, like it's like Pappy, like, all these people that, everyone that's basically like older and terminally ill, that is such a different mindset that they have to be in. And then you have to approach them from the mindset of the normal people that think they're going to live 20 years. And then you have to meet them where they are now, which is them being old, knowing that they might die in the next month, 2 months, 2 years, who knows? And for you to sit in like your normal life experiences and you have to like meet them where they are is just fucking insane. That's just crazy to think about. And then the crazier part is that's your job for 40 hours a week. You're doing that. And then you have to come home and do it for all of us in our present life, and you have to be like our therapists at the same time as dad, everyone else. And then, so basically your whole life, all the time, all you're doing is just giving away every moment that you possibly can. Because people think money is wealth, but time is actually wealth, okay? Money has nothing to do with wealth. It's all about time. And if you are giving away all of your time, all the time, then you're basically just giving away every ounce of wealth that you have, right? Because if wealth is time,
supposed to be about me.
Well, it has to be, because I don't have any fucking interesting shit going on in my life.
That's such a lie.
No, but it is crazy, because then no one even says thank you to you, even, because let's start with the hospice people. If you're spending 2-3 months with somebody that you don't know at all, and you're meeting their whole family, you're meeting them in like periods of their life that they haven't thought about in years. You have to go through these people's lives and basically like make sure they have no regrets up to death. Like that's pretty much like a big aspect of your job. And then their whole family's focused on that person. And then you have to like sit back, focus on that person, and focus on their family focusing on that person at the same time. So you have to be in the shit and then like completely like disbanded from it at the same time. And then whenever that person dies, you have to like deal with that death too, of someone that you didn't even know, that you spent months like helping. And then obviously the people that's in their family, they want to say thank you to you, and they definitely do, but there's no real way to like give back that wealth to you of time that you gave to them. You know what I mean? And you don't want it back.
No.
Because you giving away your wealth is like the source of your happiness,
Yeah,
it is.
It is neat to hear like your perspective on it, being in I've been doing it for most of your life, and I feel really compelled to say it's so much a whole ecosystem. It's not just me. It's the nurses. It's the aides. It's the whole staff. You know, I only know my little hospice, but all hospices are not quite like ours, but they're similar. And so it's really, I feel like I want to give credit to where credit's due, and the nurses and the aides are the ones that are in the homes, like spending the most time becoming intimate.
So annoying.
And
Look,
they
okay,
really
look,
do
look,
want to say that.
look.
And then I'll explain my perspective.
Yeah, I want to hear your perspective. Okay, we know. Okay, we
Yeah,
know.
just don't wanna
Everyone
like,
else
tell
does
me.
everything really, and not you. Okay, yeah, whatever.
So, but for me, I don't think of it that way at all. It is so beautiful and embodies what I want my life to be about, which is presence and compassion and empathy and, you know, empathetic joy. And so hospice, just by the nature of walking with someone at the end of their life, which every single one of us guaranteed is going to experience, is so beautiful. And so I don't need a thank you. I don't need any feedback. I know you already said that, but because it's such an honor to be present with someone at that vulnerable time when you're naked and undefended, and to bring your whole self in that moment, also naked and undefended. And it just, basically, it's just soul to soul. You know, it's stripping yourself of your personality, your everything about you, everything that you have, and just meeting soul to soul, like Ram Dass always said. It's so true.
Well, when did you start doing hospice?
It's been 15 years.
So when you were in Conemaugh, you obviously weren't doing hospice.
No. So
And-
I was internal medicine, teaching, which I loved too. But I was studying integrative medicine, holistic medicine.
Like, what made you want to do that?
Grandma. Kind of. Well, so I think what made me really want to do it was being frustrated with having limitations to what traditional medicine offered people.
Yeah.
So, like, you know, we always talk about this, but it's like second nature to you because that's all you've known. But to be able to think outside the box, never ever telling anyone nothing more can be done. We were so limited in what we learned in medical school, even though not really, and you learn so much, but there's always limitations as to what we can do to someone.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know what, I know it's Grandma and Tadpole in me, my parents, that made me always have this deep knowing that healing comes from within. So then I'd be having this person in front of me wanting me to heal them, and that was always very unsettling to me. It wasn't anything I came to learn. It's just something that was a knowing in me, that I'm just here as your guide to like guide you on this healing journey. My traditional training keeps me in this box,
Yeah.
but I want to be able to think outside the box. But I didn't really know how to do that. I didn't grow up religious. You know, we talked about that before, but I didn't really know how to do that. I just knew that I had to. So, you know, Grandma and Tadpole are always just so deeply spiritual about the earth and the healing power of the earth. So I just started studying there.
Mind you that they're really not, okay? They're really not spiritual at all. And traditionally, like, most people that are like spiritual, they would probably see them and not, I mean, I guess, okay, it depends on how you look at it. Like, obviously you're extrapolating the way that they actually are spiritual, because every human being is spiritual in one way or another. We all believe in like some things that we don't understand are true or not. And we all have these unconscious biases that control like everything we do. Grandma and Tadpole, we talked about this already, but they are not spiritual in the way that you are at all. I mean, Tadpole meditates, but that's not the same thing. Like, you're meditating, I feel like, differently than he is even. He's kind of just like blanking out, you know, most of the time, which obviously you want to do that too, but it's different for some reason. And it's like, you've figured out how they were like through so many years. Like, we're skipping so much. Like, I want to know, like, because right now we can basically like look at anything in a way that is good for us, because we have all these experiences and knowledge and ways to change the way that reality actually is, to adhere it to what is true. You know, like, we can say Grandma and Tadpole are spiritual in nature. You know what I mean? But that took us like 10 years to figure out. It's like, oh, they're spiritual. Yeah. in nature. Normally, I wouldn't even think of them as spiritual. But now that we're like, we have all this time to think of like, you know, how different people act differently towards their spirituality, and how like interesting that is, because you, obviously being a doctor, you're trained to look at the body in a mechanical way. Okay. Doctors think that a body is a car, right? And if something's wrong with your car brakes, you know, you get the brakes fixed and then you're like completely fine. Okay, well, the body's not like that, okay? The body is not mechanical at all. And it's like a really common thing that because we are born from like the Industrial Revolution, that many of the things we think about in life are very related to like legitimately like hydraulic pressure and like stupid shit like that. And it's like we think of it that way because all these, you know, we came from the Industrial Revolution. This is like the time of like building shit. And when you're building things, it's supposed to be mechanical. So everything in our consciousness right now is like mechanical thinking and like nuts and bolts and like all these things, but it's not like that at all. And you knew that from a young age, and you're like, okay, you feel this discomfort like being in Conemaugh working in internal medicine, and you know that like there's so much that you want to do that has nothing to do with that. And you know that, I don't know how you got to hospice. Like that's a crazy transition. Like to go from internal medicine to hospice, it's like, holy shit. I mean, you could have done anything in between there, and it seems like it wouldn't even push you to hospice. But hospice is like the alternate complete reality of that. And that's probably why you were like, look, they're dying. No one's going to say shit to me if I want to give them a flower essence water and like energy infused water. No one's going to say shit to me because they're dying. No one cares. I mean, you know, obviously that's like reductionistic, but yeah. I mean,
So
hospice gives you that.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I mean, I firmly believe in divine intervention, and I believe our life takes this course as long as you're, like I always say, a kid in a candy store. You know, you're on the path that your soul wants to be on, and I know that this is the path that my soul wants to be on. I want to be with people at that vulnerable, that end of life, that time when so much healing can happen, but. So that unsettling happened in internal medicine, which I did love, but that unsettling of like, don't ask me to fix you. I'm not here to fix you. I'm here to guide you. I'm going to learn so much stuff so that I can have direct experience with what I'm going to lead you towards. So that, you know, next 10 years led to like acupuncture and studying flower essences and Reiki and all those other things. And I felt very
like, think
scattered.
of all that.
I know. And it felt
So
very
much.
scattered. Like it just wondered, like, why am I now studying acupuncture? Why am I now studying aromatherapy? But it also, I always felt like a kid in a candy store. So I knew that even though I looked very scattered and I was never like honing in on one thing, like I didn't open an acupuncture practice, I still knew that I'm on the right path, whatever that is. And then I realized, you know, a decade later that then I had direct experience with all these things, like an inner knowing again that this person who is in my presence would best benefit from energy work, or, you know, what kind of energy work that is. But how I ended up in hospice was, again, that unsettling, then studying integrative medicine. And so I took the boards in integrative medicine, and that's mind, body, and spirit. So everybody knows holistic medicine, same thing as integrative medicine, is mind, body, spirit. But no one addresses the spirit part. So we always talk about mind and body. It's changing a little bit now. That was a decade ago. But no one ever talked about that, and that was my favorite part. Like, let's like dig deep. How do you find that spiritual connection if it's not religion, like my parents?
Yeah, that's the hard part is like,
Yeah,
I think that the thing that we're doing now is like, it's really interesting because we're finding ways to talk about spirituality in even a mechanical way, which kind of works for people because I don't think it's like completely discarded now. Like people, most people will say like, okay, we all have traumatic experiences. We need to go through them like before death. But, you know, you can do that from a million different avenues. You can go to church, you can go to therapy, you know, you can be spiritual and just meditate by yourself and figure out how to do it. But there's so many ways now. And it's like, that aspect is definitely known now. And it's not like people aren't ignoring it anymore.
Right.
So, yeah, so it's so interesting to think of that. There's so many ways to like go deep into, you know, your spirituality and like the things that you hold true to yourself that no longer serve anything about your current life, you know? And I mean, this is such a good segue into like how we manifest our own reality, because like you said, okay, we're here now, obviously, and we keep saying like there's so many things that you went through to get to like where you are now. And you have all these tools now, like you have so much shit. You have Reiki, acupuncture, flower essences, you have the lights, you have spirituality, you have like all these meditation practices and principles, you're a yoga teacher, you're a fucking doctor, like there's so much stuff. But it is funny how when you were saying that like you were doing acupuncture and you're doing like Reiki and you feel so scattered, and that's exactly how I feel all the time. And it's so cool to hear you say that, because I'm like, because I have so many ideas in my head. I'm like, okay, well, someday in the future, I definitely want to have like Airbnb homes. Someday in the future, I definitely want to be like teaching someone something, be a professor. Someday in the future, I want to have like multiple YouTube channels that is like, one's like me talking to my mom, so that whenever I'm old, I can have memories to like look back on and like see me talking to you. One's going to be about like day trading, you know, and I'm doing like these tiny little things every day. Like one's building houses for people, or like building like small furniture or anything like that. And every time I do something like that, it like I do a little bit and then I have to like go away, because I can't like, you can't fully dive into all these things. You just have to have like this general idea of like, okay, I know someday in the future that I know exactly what my life is like. The way I like to live is I know the movie of Colby Warshall, and I know the ending already. Like I know the beginning, the middle, and the end, and I know it all perfectly well. Like it's a perfectly played out thing in my head. I know exactly what's going to happen. So whenever I do like one of these things, I'm like, holy shit, like I am scattered, because I like last week I made a website that's just called like Make My Home Home, and I'm gonna like post pictures of shit that I've built and say like, hey, I'll build this for you too. And like I just made the website and that was it. And then like 3 days later, I'm like, what the hell did I do? I just made a website. Who gives a shit? And I'm like, that's the fucking point. Like the point is to just like do one thing a little bit, and then you just slowly form into like, holy shit, how did I get here? Like day trading, like that was such a dumb little thing I would do for fun. And it still is like something that I consider that's just like, you know, it's definitely where I want to be exactly in my life right now. But where I am now, I would have been amazed at what I, like a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, if I would have seen what I'm doing now, I'd be like, what the fuck? Like, how do you know this shit? If I was talking to myself 2 years ago, that guy would be like, how do you know these things about trading? And it's like, because I fucking did it every day. And I genuinely just love doing it. It's so fun. It's such a fucking interesting thing to me. And then it's hard because you love something so much and you do it every day and you don't even realize how hard you're working at it because you love it. And it's like, holy shit, I've put in so much energy and time into these things, but I think I didn't because I like doing it. And it's like, that's so backwards thinking. It's like, that's the whole purpose of life, is to just like, you just do shit that you like doing, and eventually it like, it just brings you everything else that you would need. And it's like, that's why people, I mean, it's such a fucking dumb cliche thing. People say, do whatever you love to do and just do it for the rest of your life. Yeah, but people think that's like one thing. Yeah, exactly. That's the problem. It's never one thing. It's like 50 things. And then you just like slowly find ways to like basically just give your knowledge to other people through different avenues, whether it be, you know, me building someone through something through a website that I made, or me and you talking on a podcast and some one person fucking sees it and it helps them do something differently. Like that's the whole fucking point, is to just slowly every day do a little bit. Never give a shit about how much you did. And then eventually you have this fucking massive castle and you're like, holy shit. Like there's so many things that we could think about right now in your life specifically, because I'm still young. I mean, but there's so many things that you spent years doing that now you just like have in your toolbox. And it's like, I mean, we take that shit for granted sometimes, because it's like, you know, everyone's like, how do you manifest your reality? You just fucking live and do the shit you like to do.
Enjoy every day.
And then you have to remember though, at some point in the future, whenever you are sad that you aren't where you want to be in 10 years, but you still made the 10-year journey to get to where you are now, you can't be pissed that you're not where you want to be further in the future. Like if your timeline is this big and you're right here and you still want to be here, like that's the problem. You need to be just so contently happy with where you are right now, and then you just literally, it's like a wave of just, it's like waves in the ocean. You just like slowly get there, and it's just like one wave at a time. And then every day, if you try to go like surfing on a day where the ocean's calm, you're not going to go surfing. You know, it doesn't work. You have to like use your stand-up paddleboard that day, and you just got to like go stand-up paddleboard, and you just like, that's what's so important about trading too, is like, what is the condition of the market? People always say that. They're like, what is the stock market doing today? That's very important to know, because you cannot go surfing in the stock market if the water is calm. If you go surfing when the water is calm, you're going to be extremely disappointed in yourself. You have to just do exactly what the water is doing. You follow the flow of everything else, and then you just slowly, the things that you want come to you because you're not forcing shit. And
You're
like,
matching the energy of the water.
that's something that I feel like we've been really good at. Like our family in general is like, we love matching the energy of other things. Like, I'm not a very extroverted person, and that's why if I'm around someone that's shy, I just kind of match who they are, and like I'm content with it. I don't care. Like, I can be silent around someone for a long time and I don't feel awkward. Whereas I know most people, if they're like trying to be silent all the time, they might just feel awkward with somebody, but I don't feel that way. I just like to match what that person is. So like, I work well with people that are naturally slightly extroverted because I'm introverted, and I like to match them. So it like helps me be more
Come out of
extroverted.
yourself,
Yeah, I
yeah.
get out of my shell because
Yeah.
I have someone else to like hold me in that space. So it's like, yeah, I don't know. It's just, I think it's so important to like look back and be like, wow, I put in so much work and time and energy to get exactly what I wanted.
Exactly.
And I'm still doing it every day, and it's
Yeah.
never going to stop. And it only stops when you die. So
And you can't take on anyone else's opinion of what you're doing, and that's
That
extremely
shit is so
important.
hard.
That you have to just put up the, you know, your shield, so that you're not taking on what other people's judgment of you, which is usually, you know, I was going to say curiosity, but that's being way too kind.
Yeah,
but
that is
you
very
know,
kind.
a judgment it's so hard for us. So, you know, putting on that shield, because I remember many times judging myself for that, like scatteredness, but being told, you know, that, you know, why are you doing that now? Why, by people that I love, but it's just not holding on to that at all. I just knew, again, because I'm a kid in a candy store, because I'm really enjoying the ride, because I'm
Yep.
here, present in the moment with what I'm doing. I knew I was on the right path, and you know, I'm still there. I'm still in the
I know
middle.
you
I'm
are.
still learning. I still can't wait to learn the next new
I
thing.
know.
It has to resonate true to me, or I don't want to learn it. And it's just, and I think, I feel, I'm so grateful for that sense of curiosity, that sense of wonder, that
I
awe.
just don't understand how. I mean, I don't know. I feel like I'm definitely there too.
I
Like, I
know.
totally am. Like, I know exactly what
Yeah, I know you
exactly
do.
what you
I
feel,
know.
and it's so cool because I don't know how I got here,
Yeah,
but I
isn't it
do know
cool?
because it's funny because you get there and you're like, holy shit! Like, I do something every day that I love, and I'm never gonna stop doing it. Like, why would I ever stop trading? I've never. It's just so. It sounds so dumb to me to not, because I want to. I genuinely just want to every day. I really am excited to do it, and it's like, how did I get there? Because whenever I first started trading, it's
crazy.
not like that.
Yeah.
Like, and like, it is frustrating as hell. Like, still every day, but it's like, it's a game though. It's like I have to like beat myself to like win. So it's like, oh, it's so crazy to think
But
that
it's so
you get
cool
there.
too, to like, when you're describing it as so frustrating, and I could describe hospice as so painful at times, so beautiful, so painful, so, you know, everything you can imagine, frustrating, if,
Yeah.
you know, but I think we just really love, and I think our whole family's like this, or at least getting there. We love the whole range of being a human, that all the human emotions, like whatever they are. I mean, of course, we don't love to be in pain, we don't love
Yeah.
to be suffering, but we let ourselves be there. I can just keep hearing, be here now, be here now, be here
Yeah.
now. You know, it's like everything you were saying about like surfing the water, and today I have to paddleboard. It's just about be here now. Like today, I'm not going to make a trade. Today, I'm just going to paddleboard. You know, today, and so I think that's just been such a great teacher for us, and
Like, that's been such a long time coming too.
yeah,
Like, to think of how we got there is like a whole nother
I just
story.
think it's in our soul, it's in our DNA.
We've practiced
it's who
a
we
lot
are.
of it too.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
Yeah. And I think just you guys grew up in a true presence with Dad and I just, primary role in life is being a parent. Like all these other things,
Yep.
so fun, but because the number one role in my life, Dad's too, is being a parent. And so you guys saw that presence all the time. Like, if I'm cooking and you want my attention, I turn around and you get my attention, whether it's a minute or 5 minutes or whatever. And so I think that just is inherent, and it's neat because, God.
I was just gonna say that I feel like we learned to be like old people though, somewhere along those lines, because you can say like, oh, you're an old soul, stuff like that. I think it's more of just like, somewhere along the last 24 years, I've learned to like zoom out of my life. Like I don't think that's a lesson that no one really thinks about, because it seems stupid to even like think like that. It's like, how do you teach somebody to think of their life as like this movie, basically? Like what I'm saying, like if I know the movie already, like in Billy Joel's song Vienna, he says like, it's so, I tell Shimmy this all the time, because whenever Shimmy was trying to get a job and she's like not getting a job and everything's just shitty for her, I would people always make romantic movies about shit like that. It's in a romantic movie about like a self-developing person, right? The part of the movie that's always like really interesting is when they're fucking down and bad, and it's like everything's shitty and everything sucks and nothing works out and everything you ever wanted is like not even close to you. That's when it like your life is romantic as hell. Like, and I love noticing when I'm in that space and I'm like, dude, this is like the fucking movie that I'm playing out. I like being sad. Like, I like having all these shitty emotions, because that's what makes it fun to be a human being. Like whenever you're a Buddhist or you're a monk or like you're meditating super hard like we did in Brazil, like 2 weeks of straight meditation, it's fun. It's great. You definitely have happiness on levels that you do not ever experience. But it's like fake. It's not real.
Yeah.
It's literally like, it doesn't make sense, because people, like I try to explain meditation to people and I'm like, you just have to not give a fuck about anything ever again. And they're all just like, what the fuck are you talking about? That sounds terrible. Like, I don't want to just like never feel anything. And it's like, oh shit, yeah, like that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to feel it all, but know while you're feeling it that there is other things that you have felt and they are on the horizon. And like, that's what makes it fun to have these big ups and downs, because you cannot get high on life without being low on life. Whatever your biggest low is, your biggest high will match it. So it's like, yeah, like rock bottoms suck for sure, but holy fuck, the high you get when you're out of a rock bottom is insane, because you're not there anymore. And I think it's so important to like, when you're in the rock bottom, just zoom out. Like pretend you lived 1,000 years already and you've lived like 4 million lifetimes already as a human being. This is just like another one, and you know exactly what's going to happen. You know exactly what emotions you've felt already in your life, what emotions you're going to feel in the future, and be thankful that you can even be fucking sad, because it's fucking nice to be sad sometimes whenever you're always happy, or vice versa. If you're always sad, it's really nice to be happy. And it's important to cherish those like differences in your emotions, because that's what makes it fun to be a human. So it wouldn't be fun if we just felt happy all the time, because we would feel nothing else. Happiness would not be happiness without sadness. Happiness doesn't exist without sadness. There is no such thing as one thing existing without its opposite. The opposite is always there. And it's the whole point of living life is knowing about the opposite and never trying to completely get rid of it. It's just living above it, knowing what your demons are. And you always know what they are. They're never going to go away. Demons don't just fucking leave, okay? They're going to always be there. So if you just learn how to live above the demons, then they can't touch you. So it's like, who gives a shit what they're doing? So
yeah, I think that circles back around to hospice too, and spirituality, because what gets you out of that dark place, sometimes you can't come back with a wide angle and think, okay, lived a million lives.
Yeah, it's easy
I
to
can
say
do this.
that.
Yeah, it's easy to say, but in the moment, what do you have
Crippling.
left? If you have nothing left, and again, it's about being stripped of like all the joy, all the whatever you want to call it, and what you have left is that little nugget of your spiritual belief system, whatever that is, you know, that seed that's been planted before you were ever born, and that if you can connect to that, and that's circling back around in death, when so much suffering is happening, you're leaving everything you love, and where if that's why I love that spiritual piece of holistic medicine, if you can find that, if you can reignite that seed, water that seed, and get them to reconnect and find hope. And, you know, again, it might be hope for a day without nausea, hope that my son I haven't talked to in 20 years calls, hope that, you know, we always instill hope and reconnect. And that's what kind of gets you out of that, like you're saying, like gets you behind to look at the bigger picture. And so, yeah, I think, you know, you're basically doing the same work I'm doing. It's just that.
That's why it's so cool to hear you talk about shit. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm doing exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. It's so fun. I love it.
Yeah, it's so neat. I'm glad you made that connection because yeah, I still am scattered. I mean, I went to a biohacking conference.
No,
I can't even
literally.
explain to anyone what that is. It has nothing to do with hospice. It has nothing to do with, you know, other realms of my life that I'm working on, you know, startup companies and stuff. It just is who I am, and I feel like a kid in a candy store. So I want to be there. I want to soak it all up. And I'm getting to meet, you know, Zach Bush, who I have so much faith in and love with the message that he's putting out in the world. And, you know, so, and Dad went with me and like went to every meeting. I mean, that's huge for me. And so yeah, I'm still scattered, but I'm still having fun, and that's really all that matters.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I love you.
Love you.
That was a good one. That was fun. I missed
That was good. Yeah.
Got me all choked up there a little bit.
No,
Though. I'm like, oh no, I'm gonna
I can't
cry.
watch you cry because when I cry,
I know,
it
me
fucking
too.
sucks. It's
Me
annoying.
too.
I don't want to fucking cry.
Oh my gosh.
Everyone on YouTube's gonna think I'm a bitch.